In times of war, the royal lineage crumbled and a boy was forgotten. Haunted by tragedy, scarred by fate, in a forgotten place, lives a broken man.
Is there any left of the house of Saul, that I may show kindness for Jonathan's sake?
An unforeseen encounter.
Fear not. From today on, you will eat at my table.
From a place of shame to the epicenter of honor.
Who am I that the king should look upon a dead dog like me? Oh!
When the world forgets you, there is a king who remembers. Once Mephibosheth's name carried the weight of royal lineage. Grandson of Saul, son of Jonathan, he was born into the embrace of royalty, surrounded by expectations, privileges, and promises. His future seemed sealed with honor and power. Yet fate, relentless and swift, wrenched him from the sanctuary of the palaces to the shadowed valleys of oblivion. At just 5 years old, in a single devastating day, Mephibosheth lost his father, his grandfather, his stability, and tragically, the ability to walk. During the desperate flight following the news of Saul and Jonathan's demise, his nursemaid dropped him. The fall was more than physical. It was the genesis of a life marked by enduring pain, social ostracism, and profound shame. With his limbs maimed and his heart shattered, Mephibosheth was consigned to a place called Lo-Debar, a name that in Hebrew signifies without pasture, without utterance, or even land of oblivion. There, amidst ruins and silence, he grew up out of the spotlight, existing in the shadow of a past he could not control. He who had been born to grace the halls of the kingdom now survived in a barren expanse, bearing the stigma of a fall and the weight of a name that held no more worth. Lo-Debar became more than just his dwelling. It became the mirror reflecting his soul, arid, hidden, forgotten. Mephibosheth learned to live with the weight of shame. His circumscribed steps mirrored the inner confinement. He bore in his eyes the memory of his loving father, who cradled him, juxtaposed with the ache of never having said goodbye. He carried the burden of being the grandson of a king estranged from God, and the son of a loyal prince who never reigned. He was the heir to an unfulfilled promise, a fractured love, a war that extinguished not only lives, but destinies. Yet even within the confines of Lo-Debar, he drew breath, perhaps resigned, perhaps even lost in oblivion, but alive. Meanwhile, in Jerusalem, David reigned. The throne now belonged to Jonathan's steadfast friend, the one who had once forged an eternal bond of camaraderie. And one day, driven by a surge of heartfelt impulse and the memory of that sacred pact, David inquired of his servants if any remnant of Saul's house remained, someone to whom he might extend kindness for Jonathan's sake. The question reverberated through the heavens like thunder across a hushed valley, for in Lo-Debar the improbable still drew breath, and his name was Mephibosheth. Ziba, a servant of Saul's household, informed the king that indeed a descendant existed, crippled in both feet and residing in Lo-Debar. David did not hesitate. He did not inquire about merits, accomplishments, or appearances. He simply declared, "Bring him." The royal command reverberated through time as an act of grace, a grace that demanded no justification, transcended logic, and expected no flawlessness. Mephibosheth, the forgotten one, was summoned to the king's presence. Picture the scene. The clatter of carriages approaching Lo-Debar, suspicious glances, the racing heart of a man who had lived on the fringes, the dread of retribution for a past not his fault, the terror of standing before the one who now occupied the throne once held by his grandfather. Mephibosheth did not know if this summons was judgment or mercy, yet he obeyed. When finally presented before David, He bowed deeply and with a trembling voice defined himself in the harshest terms a man could use. "Who am I that the king should look upon a dead dog like me?" The pain of rejection had sculpted his identity. Shame had erased his name. He no longer saw himself as worthy of existence, but the king, filled with compassion, raised him with words that restored and transformed. "Fear not, for I will surely show you kindness for Jonathan's sake, your father. And I will restore to you all the lands of Saul, your grandfather, and you shall eat bread at my table always." This is the turning point. This is the moment grace shatters shame. Mephibosheth, the crippled, the forgotten, the one who dwelled in Lodebar, is invited to the king's table, not as a stranger, not as a prisoner, but as a son. The one who crawled in the depths of despair is now seated among the princes. The one who hid himself is now publicly honored. The one who saw himself as a dead dog is now restored to his true identity. And the most beautiful aspect is that David did not merely return land to him, he restored his dignity. For in the culture of the Middle East, sitting at the king's table was not simply a gesture of hospitality. It was a potent symbol of acceptance, alliance, and belonging. And when Mephibosheth sat at the table, no one saw his crippled feet, for the table veiled them. Grace enveloped him. Mephibosheth's story is more than a historical account. It's a mirror reflecting the journey of us all. For in a way we have all been Mephibosheth, marked by stumbles, rejections, scars that stubbornly refuse to heal. We inhabit inner Lo-Debarim, arid lands where we convince ourselves that nothing more can sprout. We blame the past, conceal the pain, don masks of normalcy while inwardly feeling fractured and alienated from the king's table. But just as David, there is a greater king, the King of Kings, Jesus Christ, who one day asked, "Is there still anyone to whom I may show favor?" And he himself came to our Lo-Debar. He found us in our shame, called us by name, and invited us to sit at his table, not through merit, but through covenant, not through appearance, but through love. For the grace of God seeks not the strong, but the broken. It does not choose the perfect, but the wounded. In the narrative's conclusion, Mephibosheth remains in Jerusalem, partaking of the king's table, a member of David's household. Crippled, yes, but honored. Scarred, undoubtedly, yet restored. His infirmity was not expunged, but his identity was transfigured. And that is the grace's effectuation. It does not obliterate the past, but bestows a new appellation despite it. It covers our lame feet with the table of communion. It reminds us that, even fallen, we are still guests. Today, perhaps you too feel adrift in Lo-Debar. Perhaps life's setbacks have curtailed your progress. Perhaps shame has stifled your hope. But there's a voice of the King that still resonates. Bring him forth. You are still remembered. You are still desired. A place at the table awaits you. For in the King's house, the disabled are not discarded. They are embraced, restored, and cherished.